Hi guys, Patrick here with goldkilns.us again. Okay, what we're looking at here is this morning I rolled a little KKA out. I've got it warmed up and it's running about 1700 degrees right now. And I got the crucible sitting up on top there warming up. I poured our ore and our flux charge in there, and I'll take it off of there. I'll set it in the kiln. I'll stack the kiln, but I'll leave the lid off, and we'll leave it in there for a little bit. I'll put the lid on the crucible and we'll let it warm up a little bit, and then we'll close the lid and we'll let it cook for a little while until it settles down. So let's see if we can get this accomplished here. That crucible is probably pretty warm by now. It's been sitting up there for about, oh, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Pretty warm. Oh, we'll take our crucible out, set it down here, and we'll unstack this kiln. Put the lid over there. We'll put the body right there. And we'll take our crucible here, get a hold of it, we'll center it in the kiln as best as we can, and we'll get our little lid. Set our lid on there about as square as we can get it, and we'll put the body back on. Like so. And I'm going to leave it sit there for just a little bit until that crucible gets warmed up. Our kiln dropped down to about 1500 degrees. And those fire clay crucibles, you want to let them warm up slow if you can. They're pretty susceptible to thermal shock, and they'll crack on you, and that's kind of like the last thing we want to have happen here. It's a nice morning here in Arizona. Wind ain't blowing yet. It's going to be somewhere between 105 and 110 degrees. Another nice day here in Arizona. So once that gets warmed up a little, I'll put the lid on it. We'll leave it run around, oh, I don't know, 1650, 1700 for a little bit until everything inside that crucible settles down, and then we'll bump the temperature up to about 1950, and we'll hold it there for, oh, I don't know, 45 minutes maybe. And then once we get everything all melted, and we run through the thing, we'll pour into this conical shaped mold here, and we'll have a lead prill at the bottom, and then we'll see how the heck things look once we get our lead prill off of the flux. So I'm just going to leave it sit there for a minute. It's kind of boring looking at it, I know, but I want the kiln to come back up to about 1500 or so, and we're about 14 right now before I put that lid on. That gives the crucible a good chance to warm up without going into the extreme of a 2000 degree environment, which is when they really want to crack on you due to thermal shock. And looks like we're up about 1500. I'll go ahead and put the lid on this thing, and we'll leave it cook for a little while. Just like so. So let it warm up, hit about 1650, 1700 degrees. We'll leave it there for 15 minutes or so, then we'll turn the heat back up and we'll hold it for a while. So that's about all there is of this portion of it. Hang on, I'll reset this camera up and I'll get back to you. Okay guys, I'm back. That's been in there for about 50 minutes. Had it in there for about 15 minutes at 1700 degrees. And it's been running around 45-50 minutes at 1950, so let's pour it. First thing I'll do is I'll get the lid off the top of the crucible. Looks like it's done its job. It contained most of the spitting. And I'll pull the crucible out and we'll pour it into the first cavity on that mold. I got that mold tilted back a little bit so if any extra will run into the second cavity. And then we'll put a couple of little crucibles over the top of it to keep it from spalling once it cools off. So let's give this a shot, see how we did. Well, needless to say, that's not exactly how I wanted that to go. That lid stuck on there pretty tight. It spit up there, and that litharge, those lids are basically silica, aluminosilicate. So it ate it pretty good, and I just knocked a hole in it and poured it through. So at any rate, we got our flux poured out. We'll let it cool down. I'll close the furnace down, let the furnace cool down. And that's one reason you always put a lot of bone ash in the bottom of your furnace. If those crucibles bubble over or whatever like that a little bit, that flux will go down and get trapped in the bone ash rather than eating the bottom of your furnace up. So I'll let this cool down. We'll move back in the shade a little bit where I can see something. I can't even see what's going on with this camera. I hope you can see it. And at any rate, I guess the old hang on, I'll get right back to you. Okay guys, I'm back. I moved this over in the shade. Looks like we had a pretty good seal on that crucible. That lid basically kind of dissolved from the spatters and stuck pretty hard. They do make regular lids, and bad thing about those, it does the same thing. Then they're stuck on there and you can't do anything with them except for let it cool off. So at any rate, let's put my gloves on. we'll tip that over and see what our prill looks like. Those little crucibles I put on top of there catches the spall. This stuff cracks up really bad when it cools off. As you can see, there's a bunch of flux there. That one really shattered. Those little things will go flying around like bullets if you're not careful. So we'll turn this mold over and we'll get my blocks out of there, a couple of 50-cent pieces. We'll tap it a little bit. And oh, look at that. That's what we're looking for right there. Is tap some of the flux off of it. And we'll take a look at it. Now, if I did a good job with our arsenic removal, there won't be anything coating the bottom of this little lead prill. That arsenic creates what they call a mat or a species on the bottom of it where I'm hitting on this flux, and it'll hold values away from your button. But I'm not seeing any of that here. All I'm seeing is just our flux. And we'll pound on a little bit here, a little bit more, and we'll throw it on the scale and we'll see how close we come out. We put enough flour in there to pop off about a 30 grammer. And it's like I said, if we had anything in there that was going to act as a reducing agent, any pyrite, any sulfur-based sulfides, it'll produce a little bit more. And I'm pretty happy with what I see right here. I got the little scale over here. I'll turn a little scale on. We'll throw it on a little scale and we'll see how we did. So there's our lead prill. Now, theoretically, all of our goodies are in that lead prill, and that's a pretty good sized lead prill. So I'm guessing there's going to be quite a bit of gold in there. So let's see where we're at. Yeah, it looks like we run about 41 grams, so about 10 grams over. Hopefully that 10 grams is gold, which I know it's not, but I'm sure that a portion of it is. So anyhow, we did all of our steps. We fluxed it, added flour or carbon to make our lead prill. Our lead prill jumped up about 10 grams over the carbon that we put in there. But that's just not uncommon. It's like I said, man, it's really difficult to control the size of these. But we've got those big crucibles. I mean, those big cupels. So this isn't going to be any problem for us. We don't have to scorify it. We don't have to do anything with it except for pound it up into a square and put it on top of the cupel and stick it in a little cupel kiln. So there we go. Successful so far, even though the lid stuck real bad to the top of the crucible. But that's all right. That's the reason I use my own little lid, so in that case I can knock a hole in them and pour it out just like I did. There was a good seal on there. There was no atmospheric oxygen in that crucible. And that may have had something to do with the fact that we kicked out a little bit bigger prill than the carbon source that we put in there. It was an absolutely perfectly reduced environment. And litharge, you know, so there could be all sorts of different little reasons that we got an extra 10 grams. Plus, I'm hoping there's quite a bit of gold in here, too. Litharge just loves silica, so it just literally ate that lid all to pieces there and everything, but it was a good tight seal. So now the next step is to take this and mash it into a square and get rid of all the little tiny pieces of flux that are stuck in these little cracks, these little divots in there. And then to cupel it off. But So far, so good. Hang on. I'll get back to you.